Jen washes up comatose on an island after an accident causes her boat to capsize. She hurries to check on her friend Brad as she wakes up, seeing that he has a big piece of coral protruding from his tummy. She calls out for assistance, but no one responds, so she takes Brad away from the shore and removes the flare pistol from his vest. When she takes off the coral and covers the wound with cloth, Brad merely asks, "Did you see it?" Jen rushes into the forest to grab a coconut and smashes it with a rock because she believes he needs some water. Unfortunately, Brad has already passed away when she gets back. Later, after exploring the island, Jen finds herself returning full circle to her starting point after strolling along the beach. Then, as she explores the forest, she discovers a number of items that, based on their state, had been there for some time. When no one responds to Jen's cry for aid, she looks in her luggage and discovers some medication. She then looks in the cooler and discovers some sealed Coke bottles. Beneath some leaves are additional items, such as a small metal box that Jen discovers contains matches, some sailcloth and a toy bag. Jen investigates the source after hearing an odd noise. She goes inside the hollow tree where it is coming from and is surprised to see a bird flying out. Then Jen drapes some large leaves over Brad's body. She searches for a place to stay the night just before it starts to rain as the sun sets. She drapes the sailcloth over herself and places a few items outside to catch rainwater. The next morning, Jen starts gathering dead fish in a bag after discovering a large number of them on the shore. She is even more surprised to discover a dead shark covered in disgusting gashes. Jen removes all of the fish's heads with rocks and stores it in the refrigerator to eat later. She discovers a notebook while searching through another bag, but all of the writing has been destroyed by the water. She feels especially alone when she comes across a photo of a couple among the papers. When Jen returns to the island, she discovers graves in the form of cross-shaped branch and some piles of rocks. This gives her the idea to dig a hole in the sand, dump Brad's decomposing body inside, cover it with sand and leaves, and top off the grave with a piece of wood bearing Brad's initials. That evening, Jen drapes the sailcloth, which matches the shark's gashes, and uses matches to light a fire in order to cook the fish. Jen is shocked to learn in the morning that Brad's body is missing and the grave is dripping with blood. When she realizes something is harmful, she makes a spear out of a rock on a branch. She also packs a log to serve as a seat so she can sit and look out at the jungle all evening. Jen eventually nods off, only to be startled awake in the middle of the night by an odd sound. She believes it was the fire, though, since she is unable to see anything among the trees. The next day, Jen enters the sea to recover some objects she sees floating nearby. She dives to investigate if anything more is there before swimming back, and to her surprise, she discovers a curious hole in the water below. Returning to the shore with her newfound possessions, she doesn't dare get any closer. She changes into something warmer after discovering a bundle of clothes inside a suitcase. When Jen opens the box again that evening, she finds images of the deceased owners. She quickly rushes to the shore to discharge a flare when she hears a plane go by, but sadly the plane misses it. A bizarre, tall beast may be seen in silhouette as the flare disappears into the water. Fearful Jen quickly retreats to retrieve her spear and flees into the forest to hide. The monster soon arrives on the island and prowls around the bushes, but it doesn't find Jen, so it departs without making an attack. The next morning, Jen discovers her camp has been trashed by the creature. She notices the monster's eyes in the backdrop when she picks up the old photos. Jen, desperate to get away, stuffs her and Brad's life jackets into the luggage and walks it out to sea. Jen tosses the suitcase down onto the sand in exasperation, realizing that she can't use it as a raft because it can't sustain her weight. Jen sneaks into the hollow tree before dusk so she may sleep soundly. She is awakened later in the night by the sounds of the creature approaching the island. Jen needs to focus to keep her head safe and avoid making any noise when it takes her log and starts to roll and beat on it. The creature shakes and snarls a lot before growing bored and walking away. Days go by as Jen makes it through the day by fishing and the night by hiding in a hole. She eventually uses her spear to kill a tiny shark after some practice. Even after hanging it from a tree and dozing out in the hole, she can still hear the sound of the monster removing the shark. Another body is washed up on the beach by the waves at a later period. When Jen looks at it, she finds that the monster has severely damaged its face and that its legs are missing. This time, she hides in her hole and hangs it from the tree, but she stays awake to witness the monster's arrival. It swiftly subdues the body and begins to feed on it. Jen gasps when she hears a jet fly past, but she is unable to escape because the monster is approaching her hole. Unfortunately, the plane has already taken off when it returns to the ocean after failing to locate her. The following day, Jen makes a hammock that she hangs high on the trees out of sailcloth, rope and a few belts. She can now see more of the surroundings from above and avoid the monster's grasp. Jen sees the creature strolling among the bushes one evening when she is relaxing in the hammock. Jen is screaming and struggling in the sailcloth until she slips off when all of a sudden it starts tugging at the ropes to bring the hammock down. As soon as the monster follows her, she begins to flee, swimming faster by diving in and out of the water. When it finally comes to her, Jen stabs it with her spear out of fear, but the beast just tosses her onto the sand. Then it smashes her again, sending her into the water, but a loud crack of thunder chases the beast away before it has a chance to kill her. Jen chooses to brave the rain and sleep atop a tree, despite the fact that it is an extremely uncomfortable posture. Jen discovers a terrible wound on her leg when she checks it in the morning. She notices a life raft floating close while doing her laundry and gets dressed, so she dives into the ocean to get to it right away. Brad's girlfriend Mia and her boyfriend Lucas are the two individuals inside. After Jen assists them in arriving to the coast, the couple embraces tightly once again. Then, as Jen tries to tell her pals about the monster and insists they should use the raft to get away, she distributes her fish and the sodas. Lucas and Mia don't believe her even after she informs them about Brad's passing and even shows them the photo. The seclusion nearly drove them insane, so they refuse to get back on the raft because they believe she has been seeing things. After that, Jen says she'll fetch some more food and takes the Swiss knife from Lucas. She becomes concerned when she opens it to clean the fish because there is blood on the blade. As she tries to persuade her friends to leave once more, an argument breaks out, leading to Lucas shouting at her. Later, Jen takes her belongings and places them in the raft before pushing it into the ocean to escape while Lucas and Mia are elsewhere. Her companions, however, spot her and rush to stop her. Jen kicks Mia in the face as Lucas clutches her during the scuffle. In a fit of rage, Mia uses in or to knock Jen unconscious as payback. When she wakes up, it's midnight, and she's shocked to see that her pals have bound her to a tree. When she asks them to untie her, they refuse, so Mia walks away to give the pair some space. Lucas starts griping about Jen's behavior, saying that even though he and his buddies had been enjoying themselves on the boat, she wasn't content and had even threatened to stop their relationship. Jen feels that this is not the appropriate time to talk about their relationship, but Lucas won't stop, yelling that without him, Jen would have nowhere to live, money, or a life. After everything he had done for her, he believes she had no right to try to leave him on the island. Lucas observes that Jen sounds too much like his friend Zach and that she should go so they can chat later, but he doesn't explain what happened to him. Jen is adamant about leaving. Mia sees several fish fragments in the water as she strolls down the shore in the meantime. Jen and Lucas hear Mia scream out of the blue, and Lucas quickly grabs a torch and rushes to her aid. When he uses the torch to attack the monster that is killing Mia, the beast pushes him away. After that, it dives into the water, dragging Mia with it. It's too late by the time Jen eventually cuts the ropes. All that's left in the water is blood. Lucas eventually consents to go with Jen on the raft the following morning. They cooperate to gather a large quantity of fish, which they then prepare over a fire started with the last match so they can pack supplies for the journey. After that, they finally set off by packing the raft with everything they own. Jen is shocked to notice several bloodstains inside the raft. Lucas notices the thing swimming beneath them as he begins to row. Jen shuts the raft when Lucas runs inside when it extends its claws to attack him. Still, the creature persists and begins scraping the raft's bottom. Following several blows that cause the entire building to tremble, the monster punches a hole and peers inside. Jen gives it a little kick and Lucas pulls out the flare gun. He misses the first time, but this time the flare finds its way into the beast's mouth. The pair then makes use of the opportunity to use the spear to force it back into the sea. For a brief moment, they believe they are safe, but the monster breaks through the raft foundation once more and drags Jen beneath the surface with the intention of taking her to his burrow. Jennifer remembers Lucas' blade and uses it to stab the beast as she fights against its hold. The beast releases her and swims away. It notices Lucas diving into the water to save Jen at that same moment, swims rapidly to him, and grabs him just in time to pull him into the hole. When Jen swims back to the shore after sobbing in sorrow, she discovers that the fire they thought they had put out still has a small amount of spark in it. Jen rushes to put it out again until the right flames emerge. She then takes the notebook and writes a letter outlining her plans in the event that she passes away and is discovered. Jen has a plan that involves digging trenches in the sand, gathering wood and leaves, and crafting a number of spears. She discovers a skeleton as a result, and she chooses to include the bones in her scheme as well. Following the scent of fish, The monster emerges from the lake around dusk and begins to meander through the bush. Jen sets a number of pyres on fire to trap the beast in the middle once it arrives to the bait. After surprising the animal with her spear and giving it one stab, she flees behind a tree. As Jen waits for the monster to turn around so she may stab it with a bone, it swiftly knocks her down. The creature is searching for her. She persists and stabs the creature once more, and this time it strikes her powerfully enough to launch her skyward. Jen chooses to continue battling after observing that the beast is bleeding and in pain. She repeatedly stabs it with each fragment of bone she can find, occasionally taking a hit in the process. When the thing forces Jen to the sand, she stabs its arm to get away. Subsequently, it seizes her legs and draws her nearer so that it might grasp her face and ultimately destroy her. To make the monster let go of her, Jen removes one final chunk of bone and stabs it repeatedly in the same spot where she left off. It stabs her with its claws one more time, but the pain is so great that it is hardly moving at all. Jen seizes the opportunity to dash back to the shore and seize additional spears. The creature soon catches up to her, but not before it falls to the beach with a loud howl. Jen stabs it with the spear while it's still breathing till it dies permanently. Subsequently, she uses a fragment of its extremely tough shell to chop off the monster's head. As the jungle burns behind her, Jen starts walking toward the raft with the head serving as evidence of what transpired.